Psycho Gothic Lolita is a bit of a mess, but that doesn't make it a terrible movie. No, it's just a very sloppy film that isn't quite sure what it wants to be. On the one hand, the overall story is that of a bloody and violent revenge film. On the other, it's a slapstick comedy that is overshadowed by jarring scenes of drama. Both can work, but when you precede a scene with a man sobbing for his life with goofy gaijin troublemakers in a silly fight scene, the total whiplash is insane. But enough about how the movie doesn't handle scene progression well for a moment. Let's talk about the plot. It's your standard female revenge film where the main character Yuki is hunting down the 5 sinister characters who killed her mother. That's it. The story is so flat and by the numbers, it's painful because there is so much that could have been expanded upon here. I mean, you have a world where demons, psychics, superpowered assassins, and other things exist, and you instead focus on the bare basics. I know that the budget was low, but there is so much that could have added to the film overall. The world around Yuki is interesting, but Yuki herself is boring. How do you make a psycho gothic Lolita boring? Somehow they managed to do it here. It's not that the actress, Rina Akiyama, is bad, she just isn't given anything to work with, and that goes for the rest of the cast, save for the incredibly over-the-top Lady L, played by Misaki Momose. The characters are all flat, one-dimensional baddies who weren't even interesting as fodder for Yuki to fight. The only reason I remember the Kamikaze Gang is because they are all so out of place. Lady L is wonderfully silly and sadistic as the crazy Gyro Gal assassin that it's a shame she wasn't the star of the show. Honestly, you could cut about 15 or so minutes of the movie and you would be a lot better off. Despite being only an hour and 20 minutes, the film has a tendency to crawl, and that's because of the poor pacing and all the unneeded filler. The noodle slurping scene in the beginning, the Kamikaze Gang, and plenty of other random scenes could be cut without ever being missed. Thankfully, when the action is actually happening, it's fun. Not the best action scenes brought to Tokyo Gore cinema, but still amusing and captivating enough to hold the viewer's attention. While the choreography is nothing groundbreaking, the blood and carnage grows as the film progresses, and there is plenty of chunky gore and red on screen. The film's cinematography wasn't particularly anything special, but some of the shots were appealing in a manga-styled way, and I really enjoyed the introduction tarot cards for each of the main bad guys. They added some visual flair to an otherwise usually simple-looking film. The special effects are all pretty bad, but in the enduring way. Well, at least when it's not CG, which was abysmal like usual. The practical effects were definitely enjoyable, and a few of the deaths hit the right level of gross and silly when they happened. The sound work was cliché and cartoonish, while the soundtrack was a generic, sweeping gothic orchestral score that sounded extremely stock, but was still fitting. The movie's original theme was enjoyable in an oddly cheesy, over-the-top way. And with all that said, all in all, while I know I ragged on the film a fair bit, it's still not an awful movie. Bogged down and confused at parts, but if you're looking for a gory, exploitive Japan action flick, it's far from the worst. Although, there are much better Tokyo Shock films out there, especially something like The Machine Girl. It's cheap in both production and cost, but it is entertaining for a viewing or two. As always, if you want to help support the channel, please consider sharing the video with a friend or checking out my Patreon linked in the description below. A big thank you to my wonderful friend Orion Knight for drawing up these wonderful animation stills of Punish Neat. If you have any comments, questions, or recommendations, leave them in the comments as I read and reply to everything. Until next time, this is Thierry Williamson signing off until the next video. See ya guys!